All right. Good morning, everyone. Patty Goolsby, Pro 6 out of the Denver metro area. We want to welcome you to our Friday Zoom culture call. We are super excited this morning. We've brought this call to you guys for the last 2.5 years, and thanks to Shannon Shine for doing this. So I'm just going to read our 2 quotes that we start with every day, and then I'm going to turn it over to Shannon. The first is, a culture is strong when people work with each other, for each other. And a culture is weak when people work against each other for themselves. And the second one is, a culture eats strategy for breakfast every time. And that's what this whole call is about, is cross-line culture. So I'm going to toss it over to Shannon Shine, Pro 6, also out of the Denver metro area, to welcome our guest on today.
Thank you so much, Patty. And you guys, we have so much fun bringing this call to you guys every Friday. And this week, I am super excited for our guest speaker today. It is Gordon Fralick from LifeVantage Corporation. And his title at corporate is VP of Quality Assurance and Regulatory Affairs. And Gordon just celebrated his 6-year anniversary with LifeVantage in June. And I don't know if you guys remember, some of you are newer, so would not have been there, but when Gordon spoke at convention in Phoenix, I think that was 3 years ago, I was over the top impressed with, oh my gosh, everything that they do for us, that he does for us, with lot testing, with purity, with quality assurance, and so very impressed with what LifeVantage does to make sure our product is what our product is. So we are so excited to have him share with us today. So Gordon Fralick, please take it away.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that warm introduction. So yes, I am the Vice President of Quality Assurance and Regulatory Affairs, and I'm the guy where if I do my job and everything goes great, then you never know I exist. So I'm actually really excited for this opportunity to speak with you. One of the first things I was asked to talk about was, why LifeVantage? And obviously I'm a corporate person. So what is it that motivates me for LifeVantage? And so it's been about 6 years, and I actually knew people here at LifeVantage, and they were contacting me, and they said, there's this really great company, you've got to come over here and check this out. And so I was really introduced via my network through friends, and I was super excited to come on over. And for me, 6 years ago, some of the things that were really interesting for me in joining the company, first off, I really liked the fact that it was publicly traded. I like the fact that I could go online, I can see all the finances, it was an open book. I like the fact that there was all this oversight, and so that was really interesting for me as I was approaching the company and looking into it for a corporate position. In addition to that, I'm a science person. And so all of the bioassay and all of the work that Dr. McCord was doing, and that Natalie has since carried on, was super interesting to me. And being able to dig into it and figure out the testing and how it is that we can actually test the product and measure the efficacy and then demonstrate it was really appealing to me, that we could actually demonstrate the great things that we were talking about. So, quality assurance. I may spend all weekend talking about this. At some point, maybe you'll have to time out and tell me to stop. We have, I'm not just saying this because I'm over this, but we really do have some of the best quality in the industry. And quality means a lot of different things. It's your overall experience. It's more than just the product. It's your interaction with the people. It's the company itself. It's the look and the feel. There are so many aspects of quality, and some of them that I control, we're extremely proud of. So testing is expensive, right? It costs a lot of money in order to do that. but we actually never cut costs. In our industry, you can qualify suppliers and you can qualify manufacturers. And once you've qualified them, you can go to some sort of statistical sampling for your testing. And we don't do that. We actually test every lot of product for every test every time. And so we have these giant dossiers for product that demonstrate all of the testing, which, by the way, we don't really publicize this, but we actually had an FDA audit. It was June of last year, and it's very intimidating when the FDA walks in and they show their badge and they sit down and they want to see all of your documentation. But it was really gratifying because they wanted to see documentation on Protandim. And we walked in with this stack of dossier like this and slapped it down on the table. So we are very thorough in our testing to assure that the product is safe, that it's effective, that when you buy product, it's exactly what you're expecting to get. And I could expound on that quite a bit. But I think the second big thing that we do that really assures quality is our supply chain management. And I'm the one speaking, so I'll take credit for this, but it's really a group effort with the quality department, the operations department, the purchasing department. Supply chain management really starts from the very beginning of the process. And I'm actually the one, I'm the guy that we're buying turmeric from India, and I go with an entourage of people, and we go to the facilities in India where they're bringing in raw turmeric from the fields, and they're processing it. So we're very thorough in our auditing process. We go to China, we go to India, we go to Europe, we travel throughout the United States. And really, we want to see for ourselves all the different locations, laboratories and warehouses and raw material manufacturers and contract manufacturers. And auditing really means you've got a big list of things that the FDA says that you need to be doing, and we just go down our checklist and we make sure that everything's top notch. And it's actually a very rewarding job. We have very good relationships with everyone, and they know our standards, and we rarely have problems because the communication systems that we have, and they know we're going to come back and we're going to visit them, and it works out very well. And so between our very thorough testing and our supply chain management, we can assure that the products that you receive are the best in the industry, and it's something that we're really quite proud of.
That's awesome. Okay, so I have a few questions.
Yes, please.
Can you talk a little bit when you're doing the testing? I remember you had spoken before about testing for like pesticides and heavy metals, and you said something about the consistent potency. So touch on a little bit about, the purity of the product and, the pesticides, heavy metals, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So we test, depending on the product, right? We test identity for everything. We test microbiology for everything. We test pesticides and heavy metals for everything. But in addition to that, if you're looking at, say, Axio, then you're testing for B vitamins and caffeine and things like that. So the active testing really depends on what the product is. But as far as the safety aspects, it's the same thing every time. And so when we were setting up our quality system, there are multiple standards. So there's USP standards, there's which is the US Pharmacopoeia, there's British Pharmacopoeia, there are a number of different references that will give you these standards and limits. And so when we set up our system, we pick the tightest, limits the tightest standards. And for any of you out there in California, we have you to thank for this. Because California Prop 65 is very tight standards. When you talk about heavy metals, you're talking about metals that are contaminant or harmful, because say if you have magnesium, you've got a label claim on that. Well, the magnesium is good for you, but you don't want mercury and arsenic and lead and those types of things. So we use California Prop 65 for these heavy metals that are contaminants. And they're very, very strict standards. We also use California Department of Food and Agriculture for pesticides. And so really what we're doing is we're making sure that the products, which are natural products, they're herbs, they've been grown in the ground, and soil has metals that are trace in there that are normal. And we want to make sure that that the growing conditions are appropriate, and that the material that you receive is safe and free of anything harmful. And so we test every single lot for heavy metals and for pesticides. And what was the third thing you had asked?
The consistent potency.
Oh, potency. So if you look at a bottle of Protandim, Nerf 2, it's going to say it's a proprietary blend, and it has these herbal ingredients in it. And way back in the day, Dr. McCord did a lot of testing on many different ingredients to see this bioassay, this response inside of the cell, turning on the superoxide dismutase and the cell's ability to turn on enzymes and to antioxidant enzymes and protect itself. And he found this optimal level. The thing that and that's the formulation of the product. And so it's really this blend of ingredients that is this optimal level. Well, each of those ingredients is a standardized plant. And the bioassay is measuring this this NRF2 response, and the NRF2 response comes because of what's in the plant, and that's actually what we're measuring. We're using HPLC, which is high performance liquid chromatography, which takes this plant extract, and it's able to separate all the different plant compounds that are in that and look at specific compounds and measure how much is in there. And so when you hear that something is a standardized ingredient or a standardized extract, it's saying that these compounds are standardized for minimum content, and so that it's always consistent. And so we're using HPLC to go in and test all of these raw materials and make sure that those compounds are all present, so that we know every time that you are taking the product that you're getting that same benefit, and that it's consistent from batch to batch. And so that's HPLC, and that's specific to NRF2, but we use HPLC for B vitamins, for caffeine. We use something called gas chromatography for measuring the omega-3s in the omega plus. There are lots of different types of equipment that we go through, and we're measuring the products. You'll hear people talk about, well, how do I know what's really in the product? Or how do I know that what's on the label is really in the label? And this skepticism is a little bit funny to me, because if your product does not have what's on the label, or if you have something in the product that's not on the label, that's misbranded, and your product is not legal, and the FDA can come in and pull it off the shelf and throw your product away. And so I'm of a little bit different opinion. I think our industry is really pretty good about assuring safety and efficacy. And at LifeVantage, we go above and beyond because we, as I was saying earlier, we test every single lot. We test every test every time. I know I said every and I said test multiple times, but
I guess that's because it's so important to be so consistently.
Yeah,
sure.
And I guess I can't say it enough, because really it's every time, because testing is expensive, and a manufacturer may have hundreds of ingredients. You know, it may cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do testing, and so in our industry, they're looking for legitimate ways to decrease their cost. And they can do that by doing some sort of statistical analysis, saying we've tested our product so many times, and so now we're only going to test this every 5th time or every 10th time because we've qualified this vendor. And we understand why that happens, but we just don't subscribe to that, because if you have a problem that's consistent in your product, then you're going to catch it doing statistical sampling. If you have one product, one lot that's high in lead, then I don't know, you may have an 80% chance of not catching that. And so at LifeVantage, we test everything every time. And so I just said every and testing over again.
I'm glad that you brought that up, though, because I'm getting questions asked of me, and we're getting a lot of text messages in, and I've got 2 of them, and this is very important. I don't think a lot of people, when you say test and every time, it is so important to the field to understand what we have our hands on, that doesn't happen across the board. Speaking of that, so 2 questions. The first one is, do pharmaceuticals test every batch?
Oh.
That you're aware of?
I've never had that question. I would assume that they do, because usually a pharmaceutical, if you think of like your over-the-counter ibuprofen, and you're going to have a bottle of, I don't know, hundreds of tablets in there, and each tablet is going to be standardized for 200 milligrams of ibuprofen. You have one active and excipient. That's all that's in there. And so they're going to set up a laboratory, and they're just going to run ibuprofen all day long, batch after batch. So I would think that they would. It gets more complicated with a plant compound, because if you take like a green tea extract, you can have a total polyphenol content, and then you can have a total catechin content, and catechins are a subsection of polyphenols. But part of the catechins are the epigallocatechin gallate, and that really is what provides the NRF2 response. And so, and then you've got all kinds of other compounds in it. And so plants are actually pretty complicated. It would probably be more comparable to ask about the food industry, because if you think about, I don't know, Stouffer's lean cuisine, and you're going to have pasta, and you're going to have a sauce, and maybe you've got some vegetables, and maybe you have a meat in there, and they're going to test for micro every time, but that's probably it, right? Just because it's a food, and because they're not going to test for their fat content and their protein content, and it's going to have vitamins and minerals on there, and they're not going to have that every time. Because it's a food and you're allowed a certain range. And really, supplements are somewhere in between. And the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act, when it was passed in 1994 and then implemented in 97, Congress categorized supplements as a subsection of foods. But our testing really is more pharmaceutical-like, because you are looking for specific compounds to make sure that they're there. So that was probably a long answer to
that question. That was excellent. I love it. And then, so speaking of that, go back to, you said that last year the FDA did come in, and you piled on this information. You know, here it is. What was the outcome?
The outcome was no findings. So that's the conclusion. And really what that means, the FDA never comes out and says, you get a grade of A+ or or they don't compare you to other companies. They don't give you a grade. They come in and they're looking for things that you need to improve upon, and they'll have findings. And it's actually really common for the FDA to come in and have findings. It all depends on your auditor. And being an auditor myself, I really understand how that works. And sometimes maybe a person's had a bad day and they're going to find something on you no matter how squeaky clean you are. And so when the auditor came in, she was actually really fantastic, and she spent 2 full days with us. And the first day was this laundry list of all these things that she wanted to see, from testing on our product to batch production records. She wanted to make sure that we had inspections. She looked through, we have to have a written procedure for everything that we do. And then we have to train on the procedure. And then we have to have documentation demonstrating that we follow the procedure. And so we had to show all of these things. We were obligated to have a recall procedure. We had to show that. We had to have training documents for our employees. We had to have a complaint system and adverse event reporting. A lot of people don't realize that there is mandatory adverse event reporting, and which, by the way, I know this is a funny thing for a quality person to say, but if you have problems, please call in. I know that socially, where most people are taught complaining is a bad thing, right? Even the word complain has a negative connotation to it. But if you sit down to order breakfast and the person brings your order and you look and you say, well, I wanted my eggs scrambled, and you brought them over easy, and the person says, oh, I'm terribly sorry, let me bring that back, and then they fix it, right? We make hundreds of thousands of bottles of just Nerf 2. Hundreds of thousands. We probably sell 200,000 bottles a month. And you're talking millions of tablets. And it's a very complicated system. And sometimes mistakes happen. And if something doesn't meet your satisfaction, please call in, because first of all, it gives us the opportunity to make it right for you, because you are our customer, and we want your complete satisfaction. But also, it's an opportunity for us to monitor our system. We have a very thorough system, and we're constantly improving things. And sometimes things come up that we've never seen before, that we've never thought of, and it gives us the opportunity to improve what we're doing. In addition to that, we have thousands, tens of thousands of people taking products, and everybody's biochemistry is different. And so if you have some sort of a health reaction, please call in and let us know. We monitor all these things, and we actually report back to the FDA serious adverse events. So if you've called in, and if you've ever heard of Safety Call, they are a great company we've partnered with. They're doctors and pharmacists and pharmacologists and veterinarians. We even plug our pet tandem is through the same organization, and so they can help you with your medical needs. Call us if you have questions. Don't call Safety Call, but if you do have any kind of an adverse reaction, please call in, because again, we want to know your experiences. We want you to have the best experience. And we want to continually improve.
So, Gordon, I have a question about the FDA audit, and I'm funnily familiar with them because my husband has FDA audits with his company. So I know they can be very disruptive. You know, the auditor comes in 2 days, you're papering, blah blah blah, off your regular schedule. But we don't, because LifeVantage, I guess, our Protandim falls in the supplement category. Would that be correct?
Yes.
So on the ABC prime time, when John Quinones said it doesn't need FDA approval for safety, how do we describe the FDA blessing upon it? What would be the correct term?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm glad you asked it, because I could soapbox forever and I could throttle him for saying that. I really could. Our media has beaten this drum. It's an unregulated industry. Who knows what's going on? Who knows what you're consuming? Blah, blah, blah. It's totally not true, because the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act was passed by Congress, and it is a law, and it defines supplements, and it requires the FDA to come out with good manufacturing practices, and it creates all of this regulation with which we have to abide by. So the FDA absolutely has oversight over nutritional supplements. And if there are bad players in the industry, if there are people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then the FDA shuts them down, just like in any other industry. So as clarification, in the United States, we are what's known as a post-market surveillance system. And incidentally, it's the same with almost every other country in the world. In Australia and Canada, nutritional supplements are a subsection of drugs. So they're actually considered over-the-counter medications. And so when we're in Australia and Canada, we're doing an OTC registration. In the US and in most other countries, the regulations or the laws are out there. And the law states these are ingredients that you're allowed to use. If you're going to make a product, these are all the good manufacturing practices that you have to have. And that's really pretty straightforward. It says you have to assure that your product is safe. You have to assure that you're manufacturing it in such a way that you're assuring the safety. And so, for instance, if you are working in a manufacturing facility and you're weighing out ingredients, you have to have something showing that the room that you're in is cleaned, that the air quality is monitored and that it's going through filtration. You have to have documentation. You have to have a double signature. There's one person weighing out the product and there's another person standing over their shoulder initialing saying, I watched this person weigh this out and they weighed out this amount. And then there are reconciliations where I issued this much, I should have used this much, I got this much back, I know that this amount is correct. There's so much redundancy in the system to assure safety and efficacy. And so in a manufacturing facility, you have all of these required procedures to show that your rooms and your equipment are cleaned, that the maintenance records are there, that the people operating them are trained on it. When we are audited, the FDA auditor wanted to see a batch production record, which is really this 40 or 50 page document that has start to finish, demonstrating all these things from incoming raw materials, processing through the weighing, through the blending, through the tableting or encapsulating, through the bottling, and along with all of the testing. And so all of these things meet these laws, these regulations. And if we're not doing it, the FDA can, in an extreme, can shut us down. They can seize our product. They can, and that's an extreme. That doesn't usually happen. But if they have serious infractions, they will write you up and they'll say, we're coming back in 3 months and we're going to make sure that you did this. And then they'll write you up again if you haven't done it. And if after a period of time you're not complying, then they can escalate and take greater measures. So the fact that the FDA came in and audited us should put to rest the idea that the FDA doesn't have oversight. It's just because it's a post-market surveillance, all those laws and regulations are up front. And I'm over quality assurance, but I'm also over regulatory affairs. And we've got a great team. And so when we go into different countries, we're working with consultants and we're showing them, okay, here's this product in the US. What is it in your market? And how do I go about getting it registered so we can sell it in your market? And they also help with claims and with labeling and translation, right? And so they help us then register and notify in those markets. But we are the resident expert in the US. So we're creating a supplement fax. We are reviewing the structure function claims. If you ever hear from Eric Merchant's group saying you've been naughty and you're saying things that you're not supposed to, those are the types of reviews from a corporate standpoint that we look at. And so all of those laws are out there, and then we have to enforce them internally. And so then we launch a product. We've done all of this work up front. And so then you only hear from the FDA if there's a problem. So they're out there monitoring, and it's the easiest thing in the world for the FDA to put somebody in front of a computer and to run some sort of a report that says, what are people saying about this product? What are companies saying about this product? It's easy for the FDA to go out and to pull product and to run testing on it and to make sure that it meets label claims. And they hire a barrage of people to do just that. And so post-market means we comply up front, we make sure that we're compliant, and we only hear from the FDA if there's a problem. And so again, the FDA absolutely has oversight over us. Congress created DSHEA, the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act, which is the law that governs our industry. And so the fact that not the fact, when people say that it's an unregulated industry, it's a total fallacy. It's either ignorance or malice on their part.
Wow. This is, Shannon, you can unmute, because I mean, we've got questions going back and forth everywhere here. This is really important. I love everything that you're saying, because I think it puts to rest, once again, how important what we really have our hands on, and that we're doing the right things, and that we have been given that approval that we are doing and saying the right things.
Yes, but for clarification, they didn't approve. The FDA never, so you've got that little warning, these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. All that means is the FDA doesn't pre-approve the fact that we're saying NRF2 turns on the cell's antioxidant production. They don't approve of that. It's just, they're looking for the things that you're doing wrong. So no news is good news.
So Gordon, would that be a difference if for a drug? So if we were a drug, is that when they say that this drug does this? And
yes,
that's where, so this is such a good thing that we do not have those words coming from the FDA, because we don't want to be a drug.
Yes, yeah. Yes, absolutely. And drugs always have some sort of pre-approval where if you're coming out with a new pharmaceutical, you have, if you think of some of the medications out there, some of them are very serious, and you can, and they're for a prescription. The doctor writes out a prescription because you can have side effects, you can have interactions with other things. Sometimes the medications are actually harmful to you, but there's a risk reward, right? You're getting some sort of a benefit that outweighs the risks. When DSHEA was implemented, when it was passed, they looked at all of these herbal ingredients, these supplements that in many cases had been around for thousands of years. The ingredients in NRF2, for instance, the turmeric, ashwagandha, bacopa are Ayurvedic, and Ayurveda is the traditional Indian healing, and so these ingredients have been used for thousands of years. And green tea and milk thistle are traditional Chinese ingredients, and so they've been around for thousands of years. And so the FDA grandfathered in all of these herbal ingredients, saying we have hundreds and sometimes thousands of years of safe use for these ingredients. So they grandfathered things in. If we come out with some brand new plant that we want to make a nutritional supplement, there is a new dietary ingredient approval process that you have to go through in order to show that it's safe and effective. So the difference is that with pharmaceuticals, they're strong. First of all, they can have these interactions. Second of all, you're coming out with new medications, new drugs, and so you have to get them approved. You have to show safety and efficacy, where we're using these herbal ingredients that have been around for a long time. And even despite that, if you go into PubMed, we're still finding new and novel benefits from many of these things that have been around us for many thousands of years.
So that is so incredibly interesting that you just said that the FDA grandfathered in a lot of these herbs that people have used for thousands of years. I never knew that. So that's really interesting that the FDA is kind of blessing the use of herbs for health purposes, seeing that they absolutely do work.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't look at it that way, but yes, that's true.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We do have a couple of random questions. I'm not sure if this is something, I know we're kind of running a little over, but I'm not sure if this is something you could speak to, so I'll ask, and if not, you just pass on it.
Okay.
Are you able to update us on any of the information that's happening with Amazon?
I don't know, and that's not an evasive answer. It's because I don't know that. So that would be more of let me back up. When I say regulatory, it's really product regulatory. It's getting the product to comply with the regulations. In addition to that, there is this whole distributor compliance, which is also regulatory, and it's Eric Merchant's group, and it's more than just like getting your hand slapped for making claims and things. It's the policies and the procedures and things like that. And so his group would be the one dealing with Amazon.
Okay.
And I just actually don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Is there
Perfect.
something specifically going on that?
Yes, but we can, it's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. And I don't think we can talk about that later and within groups and with LVA coming up. The second thing though, is you mentioned that they could call in. When they call in, because maybe there has been something they've got a question about the product use or something that they feel maybe has happened with them. Do they call customer service?
Yes. Yeah. So we go down, and I say go down because they're on the 3rd floor and we're the 4th floor, but we just go down the flight of stairs. And we work with them regularly. They have such a great staff down there. And we service most of the world from our call center here in Sandy, Utah. So we've got Spanish and we've got some Mandarin speaking, and we've got all kinds of different language people. And we have this really good system where we track everything. So if you call in, they're going to want to get your information so they know who you are, and they're going to want very specific product information. If you have any kind of a quality or health complaint, they want to know what was the product, what is the lot number of the product, and when did you receive it, exactly what the complaint is. And so there is an online database that they populate. So yes, please call distributor support. And if it's quality complaint or any type of a quality issue, or even shipping, if there's a shipping problem or some sort of an IT or computer, distributor support is the group to call, and then they can help you. And then if it requires additional resources, they can help funnel those in the right direction. And we frequently get somebody will send in an email. Somebody will send in. So I report directly to Chuck, right, the COO. And so Chuck will send me an email, or Darren will send me an email saying, somebody sent me this email and it's this quality complaint or whatever it is. And then we've got to drill down. It came from this person, who came from this person, who came from this person. We want to hear straight from the person that has the whatever the issue is. We want to hear from you. And let me also, I don't know if this is a misconception out there, but and I'm speaking for myself. We love every distributor, regardless of your rank and your tenure with the company. If you have been with the company for 2 weeks and you have an issue, you will get the exact same treatment as somebody who is a very high rank and has been with the company for a long time. We are indiscriminate when it comes to fixing problems for you. And so if you are the brand new distributor, congratulations. If you have any issues, please call in and let us know. And I promise you that we'll address it, and we'll address it to your satisfaction in a timely manner. But yes, going back to your question, please call distributor support because we work with them, we train them on the system, we follow up to see how things are working with them and how the communication goes and how the communication is between our company and with Safety Call. We also, our pet tandem is I don't know, certified. I'm not sure the right word to use, but we're through the National Animal Supplement Council, and they also have a database that they monitor any types of issues, and that is also plugged in with Safety Call. So we're very thorough in keeping track of what's going on and how things are going with your product and your experience.
Wow. Shannon, I know we've gone way over, but Steve did put in here for everyone to see, so proud of LifeVantage, and I completely agree. I think everything you're speaking to today gives every single one of us that lighter load to know that you guys are doing your part. We just need to do our part. Shannon?
Absolutely, Patty. I was just going to say the same thing. And Gordon, you have everything that you've shared with us is again, I'm so impressed with the safety, the purity, all the work that you guys are doing to make the fabulous products that we get to share with other people. Thank you so much for taking the time today for sharing with us. And I have to say, you guys, I met Gordon in the store in, where were we, just Anaheim? So make sure that you're going down and you're meeting the people who are here from corporate, because they can share with you, just like Gordon shared with us, things that you would not hear otherwise. So, and we're network marketers, we're supposed to be connecting. So, Gordon, thank you so much for today. See you in, where are we going next, everybody? My gosh.
The Carolinas, right?
No, Salt Lake.
Yeah.
We're coming to see you.
Salt Lake. That's our home turf. So, yes, please come to Salt Lake. And if you're interested in speaking with me, I will be in the store.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, you guys, same time next Friday, same place. If you are not registered for your local LVA or Super Saturday or online Super Saturday, get registered today. A lot is happening, and you don't want to miss out. As you see, we got a lot of stuff happening, and so we are super proud to be here and to bring this every week. So everybody have a fabulous weekend. Again, Gordon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Bye, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.